So hey everybody, welcome back to Bow and Arrow Garage. So today we're back on the C3 Corvette, and it's been a few weeks since I made a video. 2 weeks ago I ended up taking my middle daughter to college. She got a little bit of a late start because of the surgery she had a few months back, but she's in school and we're excited about that. And then last weekend my youngest daughter had a play at school, and then a friend of ours had his 80th birthday party, so we wanted to celebrate that with them. So we're back on the car today. I've been anxious to get back on it, but you know, some things are more important than working on the car. So anyways, I'm going to jump into some of the things I have done over the last 2 weeks. I've been working on the car a little bit here and there, not a whole lot, but I ended up installing the starter, and I'm going to detail some of the issues that I ran into with not only the starter itself, but because of the transmission swap that I did. And then I also ended up installing some of the front drive accessories. And a lot of people will tell you, most people will recommend that if you're going to do an LS swap, get the most complete engine that you can possibly find. And that's what I was looking for, but I ran into this. It was a really good deal. And for the most part, it was a complete engine, but the previous owner had taken off the front drive brackets and had lost a lot of the hardware. So I've had to run all that stuff down, try to find the correct stuff, and finally getting it together. The one other thing I'm going to have to do is adapt the power steering hose over to the Borgeson steering box that I have in the car. I'm still not going to be able to get that done today. I'm going to have to do that during the weekdays. But anyways, right now I'm going to jump into replacing the battery cable, and it's all these little minute details that take forever, and to some of you it may not be important, but to those that are doing this kind of a swap, then these are the things that can be really helpful, because I'm going to try to provide part numbers and different things of different bolts you need for the accessory brackets, for the starter, and then show you what I did basically with the battery cable. So I took the old battery cable out. I don't know that it was original to the car, but if it wasn't, it certainly seemed like it was. And I just bought some battery cable by the foot, and I'm going to fabricate a new cable. But anyways, I'm going to jump into it. I'm going to jump on this battery cable, and then we'll go from there. So the first thing I wanted to address was the starter. So this is the starter that came with the LS1. If you notice, it has a long bolt here and a short bolt here. Well, there's an issue with these. It's not super common, but it does happen that this ear will actually fracture off and it'll break, and so you have only one bolt holding the starter in. And so when you go to start your engine, it'll kick the starter, and it'll actually break the block of the engine and basically render your engine trash. So I did not want to use this starter. I just didn't want to take a chance. And so what I ended up doing is I had made a video a few weeks back on my C6 Corvette with the no start issue that I was having, and I ended up cleaning the terminal, and it started right up. Well, then it happened again to me. So I determined it was the starter, so I went ahead and ordered a starter. I had the starter checked, and it checked good, but I noticed that this lug, and this is the actual solenoid off of it, this lug is a little bit loose. And so I figured that's what it was. I tried to find a solenoid, and basically nobody wants to sell the solenoid anymore. So I ended up going with this starter. This is the one that came off my C6 Corvette, but I replaced the solenoid. I took it off the starter for the LS1, and I put it on the starter that I took off my LS2 on my C6 Corvette. So it fit right on there perfectly. I've had it tested. I tested it myself. It worked good. I went over to O'Reilly's. Actually, I'm sorry, I went to AutoZone, and they tested it, and it tested good. So this is the thing. There's only a few little minor differences here. So if you notice on the LS1 starter, this cable comes out a little bit down the case, what is it, about 2 inches, and this one's pretty much right at the end of the case. And so I just ended up having to take this wire and flip it around to give it clearance on the oil dipstick. And I don't think I'll have any other issues. Just the way this thing indexes is just slightly different. But I didn't want to buy a new starter. I didn't see any reason to. So anyways, I think it's going to work out great. I test fitted it. There were a couple of issues on the car because this one has the two bolts, the two long bolts. And so when I tried to fit it on the car, there was an issue with the oil pan, just kind of the way it kicks out. So I had to kind of mill it down a little bit, and I'll show you what I did. And also one of the ears of the rear main seal cover was sticking out. It was kind of touching this, so I just had to blend that down a little bit. That was basically it. I've got one other issue with it that I'm trying to get resolved, and I'll show you that issue under the car here in a minute. Okay, so the second issue with putting the starter with the longer ear on it is the original bolt is too short, so you have to get a new bolt. And this is a common issue. Most of the suppliers are doing away with the starter with the shorter ear on it. So when you buy a new starter, they'll give you a longer bolt. And they say it's the original or the same grade as the original, but unfortunately that's not true. So the bolt that they supplied is an 8.8 and the original bolt is a 10.9. It's basically the same as an SAE grade 8 versus grade 5. This is just a weaker bolt, and unfortunately it won't work for a couple of different reasons. So the head of the bolt, as you can see, is quite a bit bigger than the head of the 10.9. I guess they had to do that because just to strengthen it up a little bit. But it causes interference with the cover that goes around the bell housing. So this bigger bolt hangs past the cover on that side. And so it just didn't work. It was causing interference. So you can see how it kind of hangs off on this edge here a little bit. And so I went to the Chevy dealership, and they told me that I needed an 11610633. So I purchased one, and I came back, and it was much longer than this original bolt, and to the point where it wouldn't have given us any clamp up force on the starter. In other words, the bolt would have been in there, it would have been maybe snug, but the starter would not have been tight. And so I ended up ordering online some of these 11610787s, and they are still slightly longer, but I did take a measurement and they will work. So you can see they're slightly longer there, but they are going to work. So they have the same smaller head. And it's the same grade, so it's going to work for me. And so it seems like I'm going through a lot on the starter, but honestly this is a very common issue, and a lot of people, like I said, when you upgrade the starter, they will give you the starter with the two longer ears on it, and so you have to go through this bolt issue. So if you have any issues with the bolt head, then that's the number you're going to want to go with, the 11610787. That is the original bolt, the part number of the original bolt that GM provided. It's been superseded by the 11610633, which you're not going to get the 787 at the dealership. They don't have it anymore. So I had to order the 787 online. It seems like they're in plentiful supply online, and it's a brand new bolt. So the last issue I ran into on the starter was this. This is the closeout plate for the bell housing / starter, and this is the one provided by Silver Sport Transmission. This is the original plastic one that comes on GM vehicles. I've had to cut it down because I'm going to end up using it. If you look, and I've kind of made this makeshift little area, you can see how I've marked out the lines where the hole falls, and this one is, you can see there, it's off that much, and that much is keeping the starter from going on. So I tried both of the starters, the original starter and my new one that I'm going to install, and neither one of them would fit with this bracket. So I'm going to end up contacting Silver Sport Transmission. I could go through and I could cut this out myself, but I see no reason to. When I have this one, this is what the original GM vehicles are fitted with, this plastic piece, and it fits perfectly fine, so I'm going to go ahead and end up installing it. Okay guys, this is another day, so I'm just kind of piecemealing a little bit. I'm trying to do as much as I can during the week. I've got kind of a busy week, but I've got a little time today. So right now I'm trying to get the alternator completely installed, and I had to go buy the right bolts. The guy that took this thing apart kind of just lost everything. So anyways, I was able to get the bolts, 3 bolts, 20 bucks at the dealership. It is what it is. Okay guys, I got the alternator installed. So it has 5 bolts total. It has 3 in the front and then 2 that connect this brace. The one bolt connects the brace to the engine, the other connects the brace to the alternator. The one that connects it to the engine is the same size as the 3 in the front, and they get torqued to 37 foot-pounds. They are 15 millimeter heads. This one is a 13 millimeter head, and I torqued it to 18 foot-pounds. I saw a couple of different discrepant torque specs. 18 seems right to me, so that's what I went with. Some of the other ones were higher, and I just felt it was too high, so went 18 foot-pounds there, 37 foot-pounds on the other. The two of the front bolts are this GM part number 1156-2302, and they're the ones on the ear. And then this is the one on the center, and it's an 1151-6360. So in case you need that information, I do have the part number for this bolt also here, but I don't know where I put it. So anyways, so if you need it, put it in the comments and I'll see if I can find it for you, but for right now I don't have it. So anyways, this is the old cable that came out of the car, and it's the older style. It's really stiff. It's not very flexible. And I bought this new cable. I was trying to get a red one, but nobody was selling the red ones. It's 2 gauge. It's a SAE J1127. I think pretty much all of the part stores carry pretty much the same stuff if you're buying it by the foot. If I remember correctly, the stock cable is 92 inches or something like that. Anyways, I just bought 8 feet of it. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing in. It's a little bit bigger in diameter than the old one. It's about a ½ inch outside diameter, and the old one was between 3/8 and 7/16. A little bit bigger than 3/8, a little smaller than 7/16. So I had to buy new clamps to go on the cable, and it's crazy because nobody had the clamps. It was just unbelievable to me that I couldn't find the clamps. So I finally ran some down. So anyways, I'm going to get this thing in and we'll go from there. So I finally got the feed-through grommet to slide over the cable. It wasn't easy. It was pretty tight. I had to open it up a little bit, ream it out. The original cable, like I said, was slightly over 3/8 of an inch. This cable outside diameter is ½ an inch. So yeah, it was tough, but we got it. And so now I'm going to go ahead and start installing the cable in the car. It bolts up through the trans tunnel. So okay, I got the battery cable installed. You can see it passing through the feed through there. Got it going along here. This is where it kicks up over the transmission hump and moves over to the right hand side. And I don't know how well I'm going to be able to video it as it goes forward. You know, I'm not going to be able to finish the charging system today. This was just one of the things that I needed to do so that I can continue with the transmission install. I didn't want to put the drive shaft in. In fact, I should have done this before I even put the engine and transmission in. It would have been much easier to do, but I definitely didn't want to put the drive shaft in and then try to route everything around the drive shaft. I wanted to try to get a good video of how tight the alternator fits up in here. I mean, it fits, and ultimately that's what really matters, but you can see the cross member where the motor mount connects, and it's right there. I can get a finger in between it, and that's about it. But it fits, and it's going to work. So, you know, just trying to piece this electrical system together. I got the alternator installed. I got the battery cable installed. I'm going to have to end up installing a junction box somewhere in the engine compartment just so I can run my battery cable to. And then I'm going to run the starter wire off of that junction box to the starter, and then also the alternator wire over from that junction box over to the alternator. This is you can see the boot here, but the wire, they just snipped this wire off when they took the engine out, so I don't know why they did that, but anyways, I'll have to end up replacing that, and it'll run over to that junction box also. The junction box is going to go over on the right hand side of the engine compartment. That's where the battery cable comes out. So I'm going to figure out the best location for it, and that's not going to happen tonight, but anyways, I've just got to get this, I wanted to get this alternator and the battery complete, and then I can move forward from there. So that's going to go ahead and conclude it for this video. I know it may seem kind of random that I jumped right into the electrical system, but the main thing that's been holding me up is the battery cable. I mentioned in the video that I should have installed it before I even put the engine and trans in, but I definitely didn't want to install the drive shaft and have to try to work around that also to try to get that battery cable in. But I'm glad I got it in. The starter was a little bit of a headache, but it's done, and then the alternator was a little bit tight and the bolts were missing, but I got it installed, and now I can move on to other things. In the next video, I want to kind of dedicate that to getting all the little miscellaneous stuff hooked up on the transmission, but I'm also going to get the clutch master cylinder and the remote reservoir located. So that's going to be a pretty decent little video there. So I want to say thank you for joining me for this video. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm pretty under the weather right now. I've got a pretty bad cold. I can hear my voice ringing in my head, but hopefully it doesn't come across on the video too much. But with that being said, thank you for joining me, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks.